Hello and welcome to another episode of the Modern Divorce Podcast. Today I am joined by divorce expert Karen Mahone, who is the owner of Journey Beyond Divorce. We're going to talk today about how high-level C-suite executives and other high performers can keep their heads on straight, stay focused, and keep up that performance even when going through a divorce.
Before we dive deeper, let's hear from our sponsor.
At Modern Law, we don't believe in a one-size-fits-all solution, and we understand that some clients need full representation using every tool in the legal toolbox. This is especially true for custody and alcohol cases, which is why SoberLink has been one of the most important tools for my clients. SoberLink's remote alcohol monitoring tool has helped over 500,000 people prove their sobriety with peace and mind during their parenting time. To begin receiving real-time alerts that your child is safe and to receive $50 off your device, visit soberlink.com/modern.
Karen, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me on, Billie. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great to see you again. So can you tell everyone a little bit about your background and what brought you into this profession?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, my own actually high conflict divorce, which went from 2002 to 2006. And was both hellacious and brilliantly growth oriented all at once. And so my children were very young, just barely in grade school, and we had a lot of all of the turbulence that comes with high conflict. And thankfully, I found a 12-step program early on. And for those who know 12 steps, the most popular tenet is keep the focus on yourself, keep your side of the street clean. And that served me really well because it was really easy to see all the garbage on the other side of the street and want to say and do, but keeping the focus on myself, I felt like when I emerged, I was a more emotionally and spiritually mature version of myself. I was a more confident mom. I had a calm and peace that I don't think I ever had in my life previously. And then what I was doing at the time felt very flat. I was in sales. I was selling commercial printing, and I thought, well, there has to be something more important for me to do than sell ink on paper. So what am I supposed to do with this transformation that I have here? And I slowly found my way to coaching, and divorce coaching was a no-brainer. Coaching is all about transition. Divorce is one of the most upending transitions. And so back in 2010, I went through a coaching program, started Journey Beyond Divorce, and have had the joy and appreciation to support people for the last 12 years.
I love that. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it is such a traumatic transition, and you're going through the fire, and you can either come out refined or haggard. And I do think so much of that comes down to, are you accepting these challenges, these growth opportunities?
Yeah.
And
are you able to see the opportunity? I think that for so many of us, it's like, no, this is bad. This is wrong. This is terrible. And it's like, it is bad. It's wrong. And it's terrible. And are you willing to look for, the treasure hidden in all of it?
Right. Absolutely. So for, C-suite executives, top performers, entrepreneurs, it can be really, well, for everyone, it's upending, and it's very difficult, I think, to stay focused, and you lose your mind it's working on so many problems at once. It can be very difficult to stay focused. So how do you coach executives and other top performers to stay focused at work when they are trying to rebuild their entire life at the same time?
Yeah. And it's such an important question to ask, especially when you have that level of responsibility. You own your own company, or you're running or managing big chunks of business for a bigger company. And the first thing is you have to be realistic. And so regardless of what a type A person you are and how successful you've been and what you're able to do, what's colliding is your business acumen and your challenges in intimate relationship. And for many of us, we can be out in the world and be utter rock stars, but intimate relationships can be more difficult. And so when you're divorcing, that's the case. And so what happens is, if you're expecting to operate on the same type A level, you're going to set yourself up for some trouble. And there's a lot of things we talk to people about. One is just understand what's going on. You started saying it so well. I say it's like you have this enormous database that's downloading in your head, right? All of those years of what was and what should have been, and regrets and guilt and anger and hurt and fear, and all that fear of the future. And am I going to see my kids? Am I going to have money? Am I going to live in a decent place? And so all of that is going on. So if you've ever downloaded a huge database onto your computer, it's like all of your programs start glitching out. Everything's spinning, nothing's actually connecting, nothing's moving quickly. And if we could imagine that as we enter divorce, that's going on, set your schedule and set yourself up to be successful by boundarying what you hope to accomplish during the season. I would say I've never met anyone who has said to me, I was at the top of my game and I just rocked it through my divorce. That's not what happens. And so you either set yourself up for failure by saying, not only am I going to deal with this emotionally tumultuous situation at home, but I'm going to expect the same level of activity and effectiveness and efficiency at work. And that's not terribly realistic. So that's like the bitter truth is you have to be realistic. And then within that, one of the interesting things is people who choose to keep it to themselves. I'm not going to tell the owner of the company. I'm not going to tell, my supervisor. I'm going to be totally quiet about it. We're all human beings. And so there may be people who aren't safe to tell, but to be able to find the people who are safe to tell so that in your workspace, somebody is understanding, somebody gets it, somebody has your back, can support you, can bridge the gap for you. When you isolate yourself, it's very dangerous because then there's going to be a lot of interpretations about your capability that's not real because they don't understand the pressure.
I agree with you. Everything you're saying resonates with my own personal experience. When I started going through my divorce, I could not do divorce consultations anymore. I could not. I could not sit and listen to other people tell me about their home life. I either saw them as me or as my, now ex-husband. Like it was like that had to go. And so there might be certain aspects of your job. I know I'm in a unique situation because I'm a divorce attorney, but nevertheless, there might be certain aspects of your job that you just need to pause. I now can go back and do divorce consultations, no problem. I just needed to take a break. And also as a boss who has had employees going through divorce or going through other things, we are very forgiving of moments and seasons. But if we're not interpreting what's happening with you as a moment or a season, and instead we're interpreting it as your new norm,
right?
It's a completely different experience from my boss's position.
Exactly. And so then it's misinterpreted. And so now you've actually added to your problems. And what we really want to do is help you narrow those down. And for me too, I was in sales. I was selling commercial printing. I actually was at the height of my sales career. I had more clients. I was bringing in more business than ever before. And mine was 3.5 years, an emotional mess. And I lost 80% of my clients. And that ability to put on my happy face and go out there and be this like really service-oriented, high energy individual when I was beaten and battered in so many different ways, emotionally and mentally, it wasn't going to happen. And now being in a position of coaching a lot of executives and entrepreneurs, helping an individual set themselves up for reasonable success through the divorce it's a vital piece. You don't need that much more to worry about. So I think that having a support, we talk about support teams, right? People always think, well, I'm going to hire a matrimonial attorney. Well, you also want a therapist or a divorce coach. You probably want a financial person, unless you're super schooled in that. But then let's look at support within your business, support within your social circle. And so we need a lot of support because it's such an overwhelming, shifting, turning, turbulent time of life.
It is. It is. And not just for you, but for your children who are going to need more support than they did before. For your extended family who's going to be processing your divorce in their own way. Right. For your friendships that are changing. So I wasn't sure what you were going to say about how top performers could continue to stay top performers, because what you're saying resonates with my experience. I couldn't. I needed to bring down the expectations, not let anything fall apart, but that was the standard. The standard became, right. How do I keep everything? How do I not miss anything? How do I not make any huge errors? Not how do I push us to the next level or become my best self professionally?
Right. Not the season for that.
Not the season.
And then the other thing, I just finished the series on divorce in the family business. And so I was interviewing Ryan. He's got this interesting, I think, Greek name, Kalamoski. I'm going to give it to you. So anyway, he primarily represents the CEO, the business owner. And one of the things that he said, which really resonated with my experience, is they have to trust me. So here I am, he says, representing the guy or the gal who's always the boss, always makes the decisions, always solves the problems, always figures it out, always delegates. Their word is the last word.
Yes.
Well, if you're going to continue to run your business or your department and go through a divorce, you need to hire and then rely on the experts instead of making it another project for yourself. So that's another area where, as those higher performers, you might always be the boss in everything. And yet, if you could hire someone that you truly trust and then let go of the reins, let them run the divorce project, you pop in when you need, right. That's going to really save a lot of your emotional and mental energy to be more successful at work.
I totally agree. And for our top performers, it's difficult to understand how to compartmentalize your divorce, but there's the legal aspect, which really can be compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Our job as divorce attorneys is to get a good legal result on big picture things, big picture. Parenting time, custody, alimony, property division. We can, if you'll let us, run that really well without knowing about most of your day-to-day details. But many people don't have somebody else that they can compartmentalize the day-to-day details with. And so they do that with their lawyer, as opposed to someone like you who's a coach.
Right. Right.
So our top performers, if they can think about like the legal aspect, find a lawyer you really trust, hand off the legal stuff, compartmentalize your business, and then find somebody like a divorce coach for the day-to-day. Where do I live? How do I support my kids? All of those things.
And that was going to be my last piece, is so if you've hired your attorney, you trust the attorney, you're really allowing them to project manage that piece of it. You've created enough support within your business so that people know that you're not at the top of your game, but they've got your back. Then the other piece is the mental and emotional overwhelm. And so as coaches, unlike therapists, we're there to help you strategically get through your day-to-day, week-to-week conflict and chaos within the divorce. And so it's just there. You're heading toward divorce. So whether or not you're a high conflict situation or a garden variety situation, there's conflict. And then if we look at what's involved, it's like children and money. Okay, two of the biggest triggers any of us are going to be dealing with. And so how are you thinking about it? And so often we'll have clients who come to us and they have nightmare stories, right? They have already painted the nightmare of the future where their spouse takes them for all they're worth, or they never get to see their kids, or they're lonely for the rest of their lives, or, you know, the judge and the attorney are against me too. Like all of this mental chatter that, again, as you're listening to me, it diminishes your energy to deal with what's before you. And here you are running your business and negotiating the most important decisions about your future, your financial and your parenting future. You can't afford to be going down all these rabbit holes and be dealing with this kind of constant mental chatter. When you hire a coach, you have someone who can help you learn to notice when you're going down the rabbit holes, to challenge how important is that? Is that really a possibility? What's another possibility? All of the things that walk you off the ledge and help you get back to your emotional center and mental clarity, right? So for us, we want you to be calm, clear, and confident. Those are our three. It's like, if you're calm, if in the midst of the chaos, you can be centered and focused and present, that's calm. Clear, right? So once you cut through all the chatter, what's actually happening? What's the decision I have to talk to my attorney about? What's the next step? I don't need to know the next 10 steps. I just need to know the next step. And then confident. Okay, so now I've got the ground under my feet. I can partner with my attorney effectively. I can run my business effectively, and I can trust that I'm doing the best by my family. Now you're set up to go through what is still a tsunami or a tornado, but you're all supported. You're in a safe container to do it.
I love that. I love that. And I think once again, like the expectation needs to be, I know this is going to be a challenging season, but as a top performer, you've had these before. You don't get to where you're at right now without already having tackled major challenges, whether they were educationally or, you know, passing a very, very hard exam or starting up a business with all that uncertainty. You've done this before. It might look different.
Right.
But you can do it. And the other thing is, we know based on research, top performers and the higher earner ends up better off after divorce, better off financially. Like it's a blip, it's a season.
Right. And I think where people can really get caught up is control, right? So if you're a top producer, you've enjoyed taking control, having control, being in control. And this was the other thing Ryan had said in my interview with him is, you know, these CEOs and these other top producers who are at the negotiation table for business all of the time, this is a different negotiation. Now you're at the negotiation table with your spouse, and that's very emotional, and you can't use the same tools, and it doesn't work the same way. And so noticing where you're struggling with letting go of control is really valuable. And that kind of ties into, where are you resisting? Well, it better be this way, or he or she better do this. And that's that slippery slope of a lot of energy going, well, what does your attorney say? Are you listening to your attorney? Or are you just battling with your spouse? And so paying attention to, where am I holding tight onto control that's not serving me? Where am I resistant that's causing me to just be diminished in my ability to be effective?
That's a great point. It's a really great point. And do you have your clients, or do you encourage journaling?
Yeah, so journaling is a great tool, and especially when it comes to processing the emotional stuff. And I would say, as much as I hate to specify gender, I think for men, it's especially helpful to be able to process all that's going on. If you do not have guy friends that you're talking to, if you do not have a way of verbally processing through this, journaling helps you just put it on paper what's going on. It helps you to release some of the emotional angst around it, and it's going to be better for you in the long run.
Awesome. What are some other recommendations you have for things that people can do to help them process, to help them stay centered?
Yeah, so a key thing is having the time. So that part, we have a 12-step program, and one of the steps is to be present, right? And so if you're really busy, you're not thinking about it. People will say to me, it's when I'm going to sleep at night, it's when I'm commuting to work, it's on my weekends when I might not have the kids, that my monkey mind is going wild. It's swinging from the trees. And so as our mind starts going into either regretting the past or worrying the future, that's taking up all of this emotional energy. And so in those moments, the first thing would be notice, when do you have what is your hardest time of the day? What is your hardest time of the week? And then once you know what it is, well, why is it hard? And if it's a ruminating thing, then you can come up with a practice. I was just talking to a client this morning. She's like, I have to stop ruminating. I have to stop ruminating. And I said, well, so that's like saying I have to stop looking at the elephant in the middle of the room. All you're going to do is look at the elephant in the middle of the room. Rather, what do I need? And that's the question for people to ask themselves. If you stop and you say, okay, what do I need right now? Maybe what you need is to give yourself 15 minutes to ruminate. I'm going to throw an emotional tantrum. I'm going to cuss and yell and put down my soon-to-be ex because I want to expend that energy. And then I'm going to get on with my day. I'm going to walk the dogs. I'm going to go for a ride. I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. And so when you can begin to notice your behavior that isn't serving you, that's where you start to enjoy the treasures that come out of the process too. So staying present, noticing how chattery your mind is and where it's going, what the fears are that it keeps talking about. And then you can start challenging them. How true is that? What else is true? How much time do I need to just fuss about that before I can let it go? You get to know yourself really well. This is the beginning of just really growing your emotional intelligence through the process.
Yeah. In some ways, I felt like coming out of a divorce felt similar to graduating college in that it was a new chapter. It was a do-over. It was like restarting. It was like, how do I want to decorate my house now? And even that was a very difficult, I didn't even know how to do that. What do I like? I've been married for 15 years and everything at that point is a compromise. Everything is a compromise. And now you're like, who am I? It is truly a rebirth. It is truly an opportunity to start over.
And I think, especially for the audience that we're talking to right now, whether you're male or female, if you're C-suite, if you're running your own business, you may not have been the primary parent. And so now, this is one thing we talk to our high producers about. You want 50-50. Can you actually do 50-50? So let's not make it about the fight and what's fair, because what's fair is you being your best when you're with the kids. So number one, is it even doable? And then if it's that much of a commitment, I had this one fella, he was a nationwide salesperson, and he said, it's that important, and I'm going to find a job that allows me to travel less so that I can raise my 4 kids, because I want my 50% time. And so for the high producers, everything we're talking about, there may be a shift that you're not just making just through the divorce. There may be a bigger shift that you're making, that, you know what, I'm not going to keep climbing the corporate ladder. I'm going to stop where I am. I'm going to adjust my position because I actually want to be with my kids as much as I can. And that requires me I'm not going to have mom at home or dad at home doing that part. So now it requires me to change my availability. And so that's a huge shift. And I often encourage people, start, if that's what you want, start practicing well before the divorce is done. Like right from the get-go, start talking about sharing weekends and sharing time so that you can see what is it like to work until 5:30, pick up the kids, run them around to activities, try and get them fed and in bed in time. Like, is that doable for you? If it is, let's see what shifts need to happen so that you can do it without losing your mind and so that you can be present with the kids.
Yes, I could not agree more. And it is also an opportunity to reset your parenting. So when you were in your marriage, there was some dynamic. There was some dynamic of parenting. Somebody was responsible for these things and somebody else was responsible for these things. And if your parenting styles weren't aligned, somebody took the lead on how that parenting or discipline or structure was going to go down. And you had the opportunity to now reset all of that, to determine, how do I want to run my house? How do I want to influence my kids? How do I bring the best of me to my children? It is a huge opportunity. And I know many parents, I think, who are better parents after divorce.
I would say I was definitely a better parent after divorce. I always worked, so except for whatever my maternity leave was. So I was out working as well as my then husband. And yeah, and it's like, okay, what do I want to do? What do I know I don't want to do? And then, we could get into what comes with that is keep your side of the street clean. What your now ex is doing with the kids in his or her household, unless they're literally in danger, is not your business. And you need to, especially if you can't co-parent and you parallel parent, they do their thing, you do your thing, and that's okay. People are always so worried about the children. It's like they have different teachers, they have different coaches, they'll be just fine, as long as they're safe.
Right, as long as they're safe. They can live in lots of different environments, and in an environment that is best, like every parent has to have their own parenting relationship with each child. Nobody can do it the same way.
Yeah, so I think that all the standard rules go, but for those of you who are in these higher pressure situations, it serves you well to build a support team, both a personal and a professional, and then a small group in your business, so that you can engage in whatever priority is a priority at that point. By having all of that support, you set yourself up for success to negotiate the best settlement, success to be the best parent, success to continue along your professional path as best possible.
Well, Karen, how do people work with you?
So we have, thank you for asking. I have a team of 7 divorce coaches. So we're coast to coast, but we also coach across the English speaking world. And so when people are interested, we offer, for folks who are really ready, we offer a rapid relief call. It's a free coaching call to figure out where you're stuck, get some next steps, and experience the power of coaching. So that's what I love to offer. That's a rapid relief call at rapidreliefcall.com. And then we have programs. We have group coaching programs and online programs for people who would prefer to learn about attorneys and attorneys for the children and forensics and the finances and all those different pieces. They can go into different programs that we have as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So do you work with people individually as well, or not anymore?
No, I do. So our podcast is Journey Beyond Divorce. I have a limited number of private clients that I work with. And then I left my divorce $60,000 in debt and like just really between a rock and a hard place financially. So our desire is to support everyone. And so we've got associate coaches all the way up to our senior coaches to try and fit everybody's budget And then we have our support groups as well. So our desire is to support everyone where they are.
Fantastic. Well, Karen, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all of your knowledge and all of your experience. It's been an incredible episode. If you all have liked this episode, make sure you download it, rate it, review it, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and check out our other episodes. Until next time, we will see you again soon.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for listening to the Modern Divorce Podcast. Remember, anything you've heard today or anything you read online is not the replacement for actual consultation with an attorney and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Even if you called in and we spoke to you, you were anonymous and we don't have your details and you have not become a client of Modern Law. However, we would love to speak with you, or you should seek out the advice of legal counsel or counseling or any other expert near you. And if you have an idea for a show topic or you need to speak with an attorney in Arizona, you can reach me at info@mymodernlaw.com.